Well, hey guys, Thor's Axe, and wanted to put together a small video. There's a few subjects that I want to address, and I'm going to separate them so that it doesn't look like I'm trying to relate one to the other. Okay, so one of the first subjects I want to go ahead and bring up. If you haven't subscribed, if you've never heard of the guy before, I'm telling you what, go over there and check his channel out and subscribe. And that's Elive Ammo. Elvis, he had a sabbatical for a while. He took some time off. Don't know why, just personal reasons or whatever. Anyway, I'm just glad to see he's back. He's putting together, video content. And I'll tell you what, if you want something that's just plain English, sit down, instruction about reloading, subscribe to Elive Ammo. I mean, he doesn't make things too complicated. So, I wanted to go ahead and address that. The next thing I want to address too is that yesterday morning after I got off work, mentally, I was alert. Mentally, I was there. I went ahead and I got all my gear together and I headed out to the range. The range was open. I went in there and guys, I'm going to tell you something. Physically, I was fighting it. I was going to shoot a video of that range session, but seeing the results I was getting, it just really wasn't worth even taking my time to make a video out of it. But the main deal that I went out there for was to check my 1911 A1 RO Springfield that I put the new trigger in, to get a feel for that trigger. And that's something I'm going to go ahead and work with. The problem was when I was out there is that I was getting my sight alignment in there. I was getting the whole 9 yards in there. It's just that physically I was kind of struggling to hold the pistol with consistent pressure, on the grip, and under recoil, I was pulling them out through the bottom of the bowl. It was not me. I mean, this is not what I call a good range video. However, I did discover that the trigger makes all the difference. Where that trigger is on your finger, and how you're pulling back on the trigger, pulling straight back on the trigger, that cured all the problems with the windage problem that I was having, pushing off to the side because the trigger was too long, and as I pulled the trigger, it would push off to the side. So I had to make some sight corrections on it because it shot off to the right, and I ended up having to take it over left to get her centered back on the bowl. And the shots that I did make in the bowl were right in the 10 ring, right in the X ring. So it wasn't the pistol, it wasn't the trigger, it was me. So anyway, I did go to the range, did make an attempt to make a video at the range. But it wasn't worth, putting to film. So anyway, third subject I wanted to go ahead and get on was the 303 British. And right here I have the 314-299. This is a 2-cavity that I picked up. I don't know how I ended up with it, but I ended up with 2 of these. Anyway, it's a 200 grain round nose or Spitzer nose bullet. And I've read on different forums and in different sites that there's different linemen isn't always as consistent as they need be with the depth of they cut the molds. So you may have 2 different molds and they're going to cast 2 different weight bullets. And you're probably looking at about 10 grains either way between the 2. So these are brand new. They just came out right now. And as you can see, they still stick together from the from the preservative they used on them. And I'm going to go ahead and mount them to these old school Lyman handles. If you can find these old Lyman handles, they're well worth it. The new Lyman handles have real wide grips on them, so you feel like you're holding the mold when it's closed. You feel like you're holding it that this wide in your hand, and it's real cumbersome. I wish they would go back to these slim handles, because man, I'll tell you what, you can close it and comfortably hold it. So, what are my plans? My plans is to cast up some 303 British, load them in 303 British cases that I have, and then hunt for a load that will shoot accurately out to 100 yards. And I'm starting down the road on this. This is new to me. There's other aspects that I want to go ahead and explore with this, and one of them is powder coating, and the other one is bare bullet and just lubricant, and see how that works in my 303. I might even powder coat and lubricate them and see how those shoot as well. So anyway, so I got to clean these. I've got to get them mounted, and then start casting up some of those. There was another thing I wanted to bring up as well. Calipers. Now, back in the day, having a set of calipers was an expenditure that a lot of people couldn't afford, because a lot of people would go and look for calipers, and they'd find like Starretts, and they were over $100. A lot of people didn't buy them, but through cheaper manufacturing and made overseas or whatever, you can get a decent pair that, for reloading purposes, they work just fine. One thing that's nice about calipers is they give you numbers, okay? And when you've got the numbers, then you have something to work with. Unlike chamber gauges. Chamber gauges don't give you the numbers. They just basically give you a plunk. And when you reload so that it goes into the chamber gauge is made to a certain spec. Okay? So you're not really loading for the rifle anymore. You're reloading for the chamber gauge. So having a bullet comparator, the Hornady bullet comparator, that is a big plus when you've got calipers, because then you can actually measure your seating depth, and you're working with numbers there, okay, and you've got the numbers to work with, unlike chamber gauges. You can also get a overall bullet tool. I have one here. And what this tool does is that it allows you to put the bullet in, and then move this little rod back and forth to seat the bullet out to the lands, and try it in your rifle, and see how that works for you, as far as overall length for the bullet. It also, in a quasi way, you can actually measure for throat erosion as well. If you're using, but it's throat erosion according to that particular ogive of that bullet. So anyway, I'd strongly suggest you guys get this one. Don't get the curved model. Don't get the straight model. Get the curved model like this one, because this one here you can use in semi-autos, and you can also use it in bolt actions. So that's a plus. So anyway, if you really want to zero your caliper, get a little 1-inch block from Mateo. They sell those for about $35-40, and you can actually run your caliper back, and then put your little 1-inch square in there, and then see how accurate your dial or your readout is on digital ones. And you can get that technical with them. I took this one to work, and I had a guy in the Cal Lab go ahead and check it out, and he told me, he says, for the price point and the quality, these were actually really good calipers. He says these are within spec, of what they would consider to be good. So that told me a little bit right there. So anyway, get the molds mounted, clean the mold, covered the thing about Elvis, covered the thing about the range video, covered the thing about the calipers, kind of went into this thing about, measurements and whatnot. Like I said, back in the day, when we used to adjust our, resizing die, we used to adjust that so that when we put that round of brass in the rifle, that the rifle, if you had resistance, okay, if you started to feel resistance on the bolt, closing it, you just backed off the die a little bit, in increments until the bolt, closed without any effort. Now, another guy that shows that is P.A. Wild. So, if you haven't watched him, go over to go to YouTube and go into search, and then just put in there P.A. Wild, and you'll see his videos as well. He's new. The guy knows what he's talking about, though. So, with all that being said, and my coffee getting cold because I've been yip yapping, I'll see you guys in the next video, and hopefully I'll be able to get out to the range. And hopefully I'll be in the physical, state where I can shoot. Because it was disappointing yesterday, but then I looked at the overall, what was my point of going out there? Well, I wanted to make sure that the trigger fit my finger and it cured the problem with pulling to the left, and it did. So it's work on me after that. So anyway, this is Thor Zax, and I'll catch you later in the next video.